Watch what you bet here on That Betting Show, Teddy. St. Mary's and Nova let the slow dance in the tournament. You got to get the icebreakers going. We all remember being back in sixth grade where the boys lined up on one side of the gym, the girls on the other. Nobody wanted to mingle. The teachers had to bring you together. That's what it's like tonight, Teddy. West Coast meets East Coast. Let's have some fun and bet some basketball. Villanova -4.5 total, 129.5. Moneyline split. +172, -205. Going to take place on the East Coast, Teddy, at the XL Center in Connecticut. So we talked about it early in the week. Long travel conditions for St. Mary's, but two teams that generally play the same tempo, so a shortened possession type of game. St. Mary's 19-14 against the spread in all line games. 4-2, Teddy, against the spread in neutral court. Villanova 20-14 in all lined games this year, and 2-3 in March. This one should be a good one. We'll see who shots fall in this.
Sure. And in my mind, this comes down to two central questions. The first central question is, how real was the Gales win over the Zags? Because, look, I watched St. Mary's a lot this year. And for most of the campaign, my thought process on the Gales team, they were a little bit soft. They were not super tough. They were not like the recent St. Mary's version that have been physical and tough as nails. This year's team didn't feel that way. And then all of a sudden, they go into the West Coast Conference Tournament. They escape past San Diego, and boom, they annihilate Gonzaga. Was that St. Mary's figuring it out? Because remember, they lost by 48 to Gonzaga the previous meeting. Is that St. Mary's figuring it out? And, oh, this is a bet-on team now? And, oh, the defense is there the way it's supposed to be from the beginning of the season. And we know how Randy Bennett's squads rebound. Defense and rebounding is St. Mary's mainstay. If the win was real, 2,500 miles, I don't care. That was a truly dominant effort. But if that was just Gonzaga off a brilliant shooting effort, off an easy game, just kind of having a bad game, which any team can do in any given day, then St. Mary's might be in a little trouble. But I also have a lot of concerns about Villanova. Most importantly, Nova's endgame. And you talked about it a little bit earlier in the week, talking about how Nova in the Big East tournament and prior, at the end of the game, they're not making good decisions. They're not hitting free throws. They're allowing teams to hang around and cover numbers in games that in previous years, Nova hits the free throws. They get to stop, the ball game's over. They win by 8 or 10. That hasn't been happening in recent weeks. So I'm concerned from the Villanova side about their ability to close out this game without choking away a point spread cover. They've done it a fair bit in recent weeks.
As we're filming now, Teddy, Yale, LSU's underway, Minnesota and Louisville underway. So an exciting day for all. Seton Hall looks to stop Wofford's 20-game win streak tonight. Wofford favored by 2.5 total, 144.5 money line split, +140, -160. Live from Jacksonville, Florida. Seton Hall, Teddy, 17-16 against the spread in all line games. But an interesting scenario is popping up here. 7-0 Seton Hall is against the spread in neutral court games. Wofford 3-0 in neutral court games. Something has to give. Should be a fun one to watch.
Doesn't have to give. We could see a push. Although at 2.5, we're not likely to do it.
Oh, 2.5. We
there were twos. There are threes out there. Fourth straight trip to the big dance for Seton Hall. They've been pretty good. They won last year in the first round over NC State. Certainly, it's a program under Kevin Willard that has, taken steady steps. Better. Wofford, of course, been in the tourney 4 times. All since 2010, they are 0-4 in their tournament openers. So we look at recent history, make a case for the Pirates as an underdog. But you want to say, what's this game going to depend on? It's going to depend on whether Seton Hall can defend a 3-point line. Who's that kid, McGee for Wofford, 502 career trays. This guy can light it up from downtown. And, of course, it's a Seton Hall team with 3 guys back from last year's tournament team. There's big stage experience for the Pirates, but there may well be a hidden crowd edge in this ballgame that's worth talking about. Understand Wofford's playing much closer to home than Seton Hall. There's going to be 10 or 15,000 Seton Kentucky fans there. Then it's going to be filled with Wildcats fans. And the Wildcats fans are going to be rooting for the Wofford side, not for the Seton Hall side that beat them earlier in the season. Pirates, the more physical team, but they may have foul issues here. If we see a tight whistle in this ballgame, I also think that benefits Wofford more than Seton Hall. That's something to pay attention to early on. If you're betting in-game, if they're calling the fouls, that is not good news for a Seton Hall team that wants to play physical defense.
Yep, boys bring those brass knuckles there from South Orange, headed down to Florida. And also, you're right, Fletcher McGee shooting the three-point shot. Teddy, over 300 three-pointers attempted already this year. Should be a good one to watch out there. Cuse gets one back and also suspends one in this Baylor tilt. Syracuse sitting at -1.5 total, 129.5. It's going to be live from Salt Lake City, Utah. Baylor 16-13 against the spread in all line games, 10-5 against the spread, however, as a dog. Syracuse 19-14 in all line games, 15-9 against the spread as a favorite, and 3-2 against the line in March, Teddy.
Yeah, no Frank Howard for Syracuse. He did not make the trip to Salt Lake City. Jim Boeheim, quote, "He won't be with us Thursday." He didn't say he was going to start in his place. And we are talking about a senior. He's not a great scorer. He averages less than 9 points a game, but has team high in assists and probably played some of the best basketball of his career last week. That loss to Duke, he scored 28 points on 11 of 20 shooting. They have played without him this season. He missed the first 4 games of the season, and in his absence, Tyus Battle ran the point. That's likely to happen again today. But, Battle's quote, "We've played without players before. Foul trouble, you have to play without players. Injuries, you have to play without players. If we play our game, we'll be fine. It's a tough situation to be in. We know we're going to have to pick up the slack." We're going to see a lot more playing time for the Syracuse freshman guards. Jalen Carey and Buddy Boeheim, guys that don't get a ton of minutes, are likely to play some extra minutes this evening. But this game, in my mind, comes down to 2 basic stats, 2 basic handicaps. Syracuse with the 2-3 zone, what's it vulnerable to? It's vulnerable to offensive rebounds. They are number 335 in the country in defensive rebounding. Baylor, number 2 in the country in offensive rebound. The Baylor Bears, if they're cleaning up on the offensive glass, that's going to be a problem for Syracuse tonight. But when you look at the other side of the equation, Baylor has had issues with turnovers at times this year. Syracuse, number 10 in the country in defensive turnover rate. Drew, head coach Scott Drew, one thing we got to do is get shots up. So Baylor can avoid turnovers, win the battle of the glass, of the offensive glass. They're going to win this game. If they're turning the ball over and they're not grabbing the offensive rebounds, they're going to lose this game. And it's just that simple. Frank Howard in the lineup or not for the Orange.